Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to part 2 of my summer transfer window special here on the channel. Yesterday we looked at who should stay and who should go in regards to the current Celtic squad, and today we follow up on that with looking at who should be on Celtic's target list for this summer transfer window ahead of the 2025-26 campaign. A lot of work to be done, but Brendan Rodgers is demanding freshness. Will he get what he wants? Let's talk about that. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated as we get so close to the big 50k landmark. We're about to become the first Celtic fan-led channel on YouTube to hit 50,000 subs. So if you haven't already, please go down below and smash the living daylights out of those buttons. We're here with part 2 of the recruitment special moving into this summer transfer window, where we have a lot to talk about and a list of heavy demands by myself. I'm not taking it lightly. So yesterday we sat down to discuss the current Celtic squad and we decided who should stay and who should go. I'm using that information to dictate a lot of what we talk about this afternoon. So if you haven't already, go and check that video out. It's part 1 leading into part 2 today. We are going to use that squad that I have kept here at the club in the 2025-26 campaign to basically decipher what Celtic need next season. So we're going to go through it bit by bit, one by one, position by position, if you like, and we're going to see how much we actually need to really improve this squad and optimise it for Brendan Rodgers' third season, the last season of his current contract. Here is the current state of the first team heading into the 2025-26 campaign. This, of course, includes players returning from loan deals such as Gustav Lagerbielke, Stephen Welsh, Marco Tilio, etc, etc. It would mean that we have a squad size of 28 first-team players. Now, keep in mind, I'm not including the likes of young Sean McCardle, for example, or Adam Montgomery, who to this day are still considered B-team players. These are players that you would normally consider as first team players. There is 28 of them and we still only have 7 that you would consider locally trained between both the club, Celtic, and Scotland. So it's a big squad with a few players extra than what we need. However, if we go to what I done yesterday and we get rid of what I think is the dead wood, suddenly there's 11 of them gone, because we are down to a 17-man squad with only 6 locally trained players. A lot of players out the door, in my opinion. Some of them I think more realistic to leave than others, but ultimately a much lighter squad. Now, as you can see, I have included Kieran Tierney in this squad depth analysis. I've also included Ross Doohan as well, because it looks all but confirmed that he will be a Celtic player next season, if reports are to be believed. And I do believe this is a pretty decent skeleton to work with. And in fact, one massive thing I would say is that the club-trained player situation is a lot better off this year with the return of Kieran Tierney than what we've seen the last couple of years. I'm much more comfortable with Tierney, McGregor, Forrest, Ralston and Doohan than I was with the Stephen Welsh combination that we've tried to put together these past few seasons. So I think we're in a good place. I don't think that the end of the season should spoil that for people. I went back and watched this exact same video I done this time last year, and I genuinely do believe that the skeleton of players that we have to work with moving into next season is a lot better than what it was this time last year. I think there was a lot more important work to do, and you remember that last year, this time last year, we were coming off the back of a season where there wasn't a lot of certainty. There was a bit of scrambling going into the last portion of the season. Rangers still very much had a chance. This year, we can't let a Scottish Cup final failure get the best of us. We have a very good side, but there is still a lot of work to do, and if Brendan Rodgers wants to take this team forward, the board need to realise that, and they need to listen to his transfer requests, because I think between him and us, we're going to have a few. So today we are here to discuss Celtic's 2025-2026 summer transfer shopping list, led up by Brendan Rodgers and hopefully executed in style. We start off in the defence. We'll go from back to front, and I think that 2 centre-halves need to be on the list for Brendan Rodgers this summer. One that will come in to partner Cameron Carter-Vickers on the left-hand side of the defence, and another backup player, because I think we'll need to clear out a couple. Austin Trusty is somebody I want to believe in, but I still think has a lot of convincing to do. I see him settling into a sort of backup role next season, at least for the beginning of the season anyway, and Celtic really need to get a partner for Vickers, and they need to get it right, because he's been relied on so heavily with different partners since the departure of Karl Starfelt. Between Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, Mike Nawrowski, Moritz Jens, for example, we've just had so many combinations of players. And it's not easy for him. You know, it's not easy for Vickers, but I would want someone that comes in to match his quality. I think that a starting left-footed centre-half that is a much-needed upgrade on Liam Scales is one of the priorities in this transfer window. Now, when it comes to a backup centre-half, I think that's one of the lesser priorities. The fact that we could keep a hold of Nawrowski or Scales, hypothetically, would really downplay the need for another centre-half, but I'm ready to cut our losses with players who I think have went as far as they can at Celtic, and one of them is Liam Scales. So I would like us to try and sign 2. I would like a comfortable backup to Cameron Carter-Vickers if any injuries flare up, preferably a right footer. I would like a new first team starting 11 partner for Vickers that matches his quality. It's an area that we can't neglect, because when injuries flare up, it's one of the ones that we suffer with the most. We were really, really fortunate that against Atalanta, for example, this season, Trusty and Scales stepped up and they gave us their best games of the season. But you can't rely on that every year. We can't be going into away games in the Champions League with Liam Scales and Austin Trusty starting at centre-half. We just can't be. So I think it's an area that does need addressed. Next up is a backup to Kieran Tierney, and it's still not confirmed if that will be Jeffrey Schlupp or not, because we are hearing reports that there is some minor discussions going on behind the scenes to see if there's any interest towards Jeffrey Schlupp staying. I personally don't think he will, and I don't really mind if he doesn't come back. I think that Celtic could look at other options, especially with the wage that I'd imagine he desires and the football that he'll want to see entering this final stage of his career. It just doesn't feel like Celtic is the move that he wants necessarily. So I think the Celtic will need to look elsewhere, but we need a left back. Greg Taylor is going to go. Jeffrey Schlupp, as far as we know, is going to go. We need a backup to Kieran Tierney. And we speak about Kieran Tierney's injury problems quite a lot, and he's been on a good run recently. Touch hair or wood that this is a real sign of what's to come with Kieran Tierney's fitness situation. But I don't see him as a guy that's going to play 50 plus games a season across all competitions. So we need to bring in somebody with quality. I would be fine with Schlupp. I really would. I know a lot of people have went off him in recent weeks, and I understand that, and I'd probably side with that as well. But if he was the backup to Tierney, I genuinely don't think it'd be the end of the world. I think it would plug a gap for a year. But I would like somebody that can step in, bring us quality when Tierney might be feeling the effects of a lot of football. It's, once again, similar to centre-half, an area we can't neglect. Just because we have Tierney now doesn't mean we're fine over in left-back. No, we still are talking about left-backs, even with the return of Kieran Tierney. This is one that Celtic fans have been crying out for a few years. A strong defensive midfielder. Now, I have included the image of Kalidou Sidibe and the graphic for that position. He's the one that we've been linked with for the last few weeks from Guingamp over in France. I don't necessarily think it will be him. In fact, I think those rumours are a little powder puff for me. I don't think there's a lot in them. But we need a strong defensive midfielder, somebody with that makeup that Sidibe carries, tall, strong, defensively assured, somebody who can come in, especially in European games, and provide a layer of coverage for the back four. Now, I don't think it'll be an easy position to sign up in, especially with Callum McGregor remaining the captain, remaining the ever-present in this Celtic side. This is similar to being a backup keeper, which I think has made it really difficult for Celtic in recent years. But we need to start preparing for the life after Callum McGregor. We really need to start thinking about plan Bs in certain games as well. You know, McGregor's getting older. His legs are going to get more tired. And sometimes in a European game, you will need to question whether or not Callum McGregor can last the whole 90 filling in that role. I don't doubt him yet, but naturally, as football goes, that day will come, and you need to be prepared for it. So A defensive midfielder would be really appreciated. I think that a lot of people have cried out for a Roy Keane type character in recent years. I'm not necessarily we need somebody saying somebody we need somebody to come in and hit folk and constantly be tackling and be a right rough midfielder, but I just need somebody with a physical presence so that you can get a hold of these European games, especially in the middle of the park where it's the toughest area to get a bit of presence. So yeah, a defensive midfielder, still talking about one, but it is needed. And the central midfield department will be one that's spoke about quite heavily this window because Rio Hatate could leave and he's arguably Celtic's best central midfielder, depending on who you ask. Rio Hatate is the lifeblood of the midfield, the ticking heart of the midfield. And I'm pretty certain he'll be off this summer. Now, I'd love to see him stay, and I'm not saying it's a 100% guarantee that he moves on, but he's been with the club for quite a while now. He's getting older, and he'll want to challenge himself. I just wouldn't be surprised. And we need the replacement. Similar to how we needed the Matt O'Reilly replacement this time last year, we're going to need the Rio Hatate replacement this time this year. Will it be this man, though? Lennon Miller. Because he should be on the transfer shopping list regardless. Regardless if he's coming in to replace Rio Hatate, regardless if he's coming in to start every week or not, Lennon Miller is a player that shouldn't be passed up on by Celtic. It's as simple as that. I just think that it would be foolish of us to let him go. And I know a lot of people aren't convinced that he's as good as Rio Hatate or anything like that. And I think that's justified. I wouldn't go as far to say that he is. And I'm not saying he's going to come in and be good enough to replace Rio Hatate straight away. But I would be keen to remind people that Rio Hatate came from Japan, relatively unknown. In fact, pretty unknown to most Celtic supporters for a not so big transfer fee. And looked great straight away because he had the right players around him. He had the right coach with him. Who's to say that can't be Lennon Miller? Who's to say he can't arrive from Motherwell and be good enough? I think that if you at least stack the midfield with talent in there, that Lennon Miller could become a great player. And what, we just got to let him go so that in a few years we watch him do as well as a Lewis Ferguson or a Scott McTominay or a John McGinn and go, well, we should have took that chance. I genuinely do believe Lennon Miller's going to be great, and I think Celtic should take that chance. He should be on the shopping list. Will we be able to persuade him to come here when you see the likes of Ferguson doing so well over in Italy? I don't know. But we need to give him reason for that. And I know that people might consider him a downgrade from Rio Hatate, and we might want this spectacular 10 or 15 million pound centre mid to come in. I wouldn't turn my nose up at that. But I'd love Lennon Miller in as well. I really would. We need another winger. That's pretty obvious, especially with Jota being out till November, perhaps December. Some people saying maybe even January. We need a quality winger. One that could ideally play on both sides, but I don't think that it's overly important what side they play on. You ideally keep Kuhn and Maeda at the club, and that means you have your starting left and right wingers anyway. But I would love some more quality in this team. Michel-Ange Balikwisha, of course, is the one that we've been linked with the most, and he would be one of the ideal candidates to be that winger that arrives at the club. We'll look at the squad depth with my signings towards the end of the video, and we will kind of cover that and finish things off. But if you had Kuhn and Jota as your right wingers and Maeda and Balikwisha as your left wingers, that's really, really good. That's exactly what you're needing for. And then you've got the likes of Forrest still at the club who can come in and add to that department as well. I would really enjoy that, but a winger is one that we need. There's no two ways about it. And then finally, a quality striker. A big quality striker. Somebody who's going to come in, guarantee us goals, and really take the reins of what Kyogo left behind. Adam Ida is somebody I truly believe in, but I think we can all agree is still not trusted as Celtic's starting striker. I love the guy. I'm a huge Ida fan, but he can't be the only striker at the club regardless. Matthias Wiesgarden is the one that we're going to be linked with for the next few weeks. We know he's leaving Brøndby. We know that Celtic are interested, and we know that Celtic have been interested since Brendan Rodgers returned to the club. Will it be him? I hope so, because I want it nipped in the bud and I want it over and done with. But it needs to be over and done with soon enough. We need to know who our striking options are, and Adam Ida needs that competition in there. I think that Adam Ida is a player who plays better with competition anyway. And I think the example of that was the start of his Celtic career when he came in towards the end of the 2023-24 campaign. But Mattis Kvisgaarden would be a huge signing for the club. Now, apparently they want somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 million pounds for him. Are Celtic willing to spend that much on a striker when they see how the Adam Ida project has went? I don't know, but if you want guaranteed goals, he looks like somebody who might be able to get them. So we'll just need to be patient. It's arguably the most important position on this list for Celtic this summer as a striker. Adam Ida is the only one here. I know there's Johnny Kenny, but I think he needs a loan move. Ida's the only one here. We need a striker. Enough said. And I have put in a wee bonus buy for the transfer shopping list, which I don't think will happen, but it would be very, very nice. It would be a contract for Daisen Maeda, any form of extension on that deal he has in the next few weeks to assure us that he won't leave in this summer window would be gorgeous. But I think that's an overly ambitious ask of me, I think. But, I mean, if you're talking about bonus buys, they don't get better than that. So, once again, similar to last year, I'm not asking for much, am I? Just a small transfer shopping list. You'd think that I'm playing Football Manager or career mode. I understand that this is overly optimistic and overly ambitious, but I do genuinely believe this is the work that Celtic need to do to get the squad in a position that optimises our chances of success next year. And in fact, if you go back to last year's shopping list video, the exact same one I done, I think I was 100% bang on the money when it came to my shopping list. If you take out the bonus buys section, I think I got everything bang on. So I'm hoping that happens again. And if it does, well, this is how the squad would look. So here is the ideal yet ambitious state of the squad after my transfer window dreams. It would leave us with a squad size of 24 out of 25 players, with 7 out of the 8 locally trained in there. So this is the situation where you'd need to maybe bring up a Sean McCardle into the registered players, or maybe even sign another Scottish trained player, whether that was, you know, a centre half who was brought up here, or another striker who was brought up here. This would be a good position, I think, to essentially end the window in. And it would leave the squad looking pretty good. So as you can see, we now have defence depth that joins Cameron Carter-Vickers and Kieran Tierney. I think a new centre half could optimise our back four. I mean, if you picture us starting the season with a back four of Alistair Johnston, Cameron Carter-Vickers, a new and great centre half, and Kieran Tierney, that's a dreamland back four. Midfield is probably the only area I would remain unsure about. I would maybe want a wee bit more depth in there, just some assured quality. And that's only because of the quality that you're losing in Rio Hatate. I still believe in Engels, Miller and McGregor to be a good midfield three, or even Bernardo to come in and make that a good midfield three, but you're losing one of the best midfielders we've had in recent years in Rio Hatate if he goes out the door. So I would be a little bit nervous around that. And then when I come to the front three, I genuinely do believe if we do what we should do and get Balikwisha and Kvisgaarden, that's perfect. Once again, I'll go over it, but if you have Kuhn and Jota on the right, you have Kvisgaarden and Ida in the middle, and then Maeda and Balikwisha on the left, I think that is essentially perfect. So I'm hoping that Celtic are watching my video again and taking notes, because if that was the 24 out of 25 players we have registered going into the next Champions League campaign, I'd be feeling pretty good. Not gonna lie, I'd be feeling pretty good. So that does it for today, and that brings to an end our transfer special to start the 2025-2026 summer transfer window. I will be here all summer for Celtic transfer talk, as you know, dissecting all the rumours, giving my opinions on all the players, and following it each step of the way. So please make sure to join me in all of that, and let me know your thoughts to my transfer shopping list below. Until next time, take care of yourself, God bless, and cheerio.